It is my pleasure and my honor to welcome everyone and to present the first speaker of the banquet, who is going to welcome you, the Vice President of Villanova University, Dr. John Johannes. His office has been very supportive of the Center of Arab and Islamic Studies, as well as this conference. Thank you.
Relax, I am not going to give a speech. So I'm just here basically to welcome all of you on behalf of the university. I know you've been welcomed a few times already, but this is a special event for us. We're celebrating, of course, the 25th anniversary of the center, and tonight celebrating especially Professor Hafeez Malik, who's near and dear to many of us. For those of you who are guests from out of town, and I know a number of you are, you may not know a lot about Villanova, and just by way of background, let me just tell you a little bit of the history and try to describe it to you quickly. We began really in 1796 when some Augustinian friars came from Ireland to Philadelphia. They started a church downtown, and a number of years later moved out to this area, bought some property out here, and started what was kind of a combination high school, college, seminary, whatever you want, with the intention of serving a population that needed to be served. It was the Irish immigrants who had come over here and worked as servants to many of the very wealthy Philadelphians who had properties out here. That little school evolved over time with some ups and some downs, with the addition of science and technology and so on, into a major college certainly by the middle of the 20th century. At that time, the university added which had a business school, added a nursing college, added a law school, and became, by 1940, 1950, a major player in certainly the regional academic setting. After World War II, the school, like many private schools, many Catholic schools around the country, grew pretty dramatically, creating all sorts of new opportunities. And sometimes in the 70s or 80s, the nature of this place somewhat changed, because it had been a local school, heavily dependent on Philadelphia commuter students. And by the time you got through the 70s and certainly into the 80s, it had become a much different school, much more regional, perhaps national. And that change has continued over time. We now have students from something like 48 states and 46 different countries around the world. What was an undergraduate school has now become an institution that has many graduate programs, 3 doctoral programs, nearly 40 master's programs. A third of our students are graduate students. So the place has changed a lot, and what you're seeing here today is a different institution. But what has not changed are two things, and two things that we hold very dearly. One is the commitment to undergraduate students, and secondly, the commitment to the sense of mission, which is captured in our Veritas Unitas Caritas motto. That is to say, a commitment to excellence in scholarship and truth, a commitment to community, friendship, and a community to serving those who need to be served. And in its own sense, I think that's what this conference is all about. It's the pursuit of academic truth. It's creating bonds and ties of friendship, celebrating with old friends and making new friends. And certainly it's serving a higher purpose, namely the whole understanding of Arab and Islamic culture, politics, and economics. So I know the conference has been pretty well received up to now. I hear good things. I've seen a little bit myself. It seems very good. The lecture that Professor Kail just gave, I thought was outstanding. We kidded him a little bit. Some of us are political scientists, so we're very sensitive about those things. But the conference has been good. I think from what I gathered, tomorrow is another exciting day. And this dinner is an opportunity to celebrate what has gone on so far and what will come tomorrow. So again, on behalf of Villanova, welcome to all of you. And don't forget to cheer for the Villanova basketball team tomorrow night.
Science department, and I'm a colleague of Hafeez Malik. And I've been asked to say a few words about Hafeez's long tenure with our department. I will be brief because we have a couple more speeches coming up. And I think in order to understand where I'm going to go with this talk, I want to describe Villanova at the time that Hafeez came here in 1961. In fact, Dr. Johannes stole a little bit of my thunder by doing a bit of a history. But in 1961, when Hafeez came here, it was a rather small school, not that many students, not that many teachers, a lot of priests, a lot of Augustinian priests. The students were mostly commuters, and they were all male. There were a few women. For instance, there was a nursing college, and there were a few other programs that had women, but basically that was it. Women didn't come to all parts of Villanova till September of 1968. And remember, Hafeez came in 1961. The teaching load in those days, and this is going to get very close to what I want to emphasize, was 4 courses a semester, and if you could teach evening school and summer school, you did it in order to try to make ends meet. And also when Hafeez came here, although this is his 48th year, it's not his 48th year in the political science department, it's his 47th year, because when he came here, it was the Department of History and Political Science, and there were 12 historians and 6 political scientists plus the chair, who was also a political scientist. And in those days, when they say history and political science, it meant that you should teach anything and everything. Just for example's sake, I don't know if Hafeez ever did this. I had to teach European history since 1500. I had to teach financial history of the United States. I was about 1 class ahead of my students. I mean, my area of expertise is the Supreme Court and constitutional law, and it was hard. But that's what you had to do in those days. Well, Hafeez comes into this situation, and he indeed had the same teaching load as everybody else, but he became a pioneer. And I don't say he's the only one, but there sure weren't very many, because Hafeez, as soon as he came here, began to publish. And publishing in those days was not something that was you had to do. It wasn't discouraged, it was encouraged, but if you wanted to have tenure and promotion, you didn't have to have the research credentials that you have to today. As Dr. Johanna said, we pride ourselves in being an undergraduate teaching institution, and of course with all the addition of the new grad programs, and we still pride ourselves in teaching. For instance, you won't find Hafeez's grad assistant teaching any of his classes unless there's an emergency. Teachers here teach. But Hafeez published. And I looked in amazement when I see this colleague of mine cranking out books, cranking out articles, and I mean, here the rest of us we're lucky if we did one thing in about 4 or 5 years, and Hafeez is coming out every year with these things, and I'm looking and I'm saying, boy, first of all, who is Iqbal? And I have to say, okay. And he kept coming out with these things. And again, he wasn't the only one. For instance, we did have a man in our department that some of you might have heard about, who is deceased now, but his name was Fred Khoury. And Fred published a book called The Arab-Israeli Dilemma, and it came out in a couple editions, and I still have both of them. And they were very well received. But these people were few and far between. What's happened, of course, since then is that the university has caught up with Hafeez in one sense, in that research is now expected of the faculty here in order to get promotion, in order to get tenure. But Hafeez really was extraordinary in doing that. And remember that he had this teaching load of 4 courses a semester, plus whatever extra he could do. As far as Hafeez's teaching, I have a daughter who since has her PhD, but when she was here going for her master's, she took Hafeez for class, and she raved about him. And she also had me for class one time, and I don't think she ever raved about me. So she's a very good judge of teaching. Hafeez is one of these people that was very well received, especially by graduate students. And I'll just give you one illustration. At commencement time, over the last couple decades, there have been receptions after graduation at which time the students will get their diplomas. And the receptions are by department, excepting you have the graduate school of arts and sciences reception. And sometimes I would ask around and I would say, where is Hafeez? Because all the rest of us would be at the undergraduate reception for political science majors. Hafeez would be at the graduate reception. One of the few people that really, really supported the graduate students here. So Hafeez also, when he came here, he was our South Asia expert. And when I was hired, I was asked if I could teach India and Pakistan. And I said, no. And the chairperson said, I like honesty. I didn't think you could. So along came Hafeez. He taught South Asia. He taught Southeast Asia. He later has developed courses on Central Asia and nationalism, internationalism, and almost anything you can name from that part of the world. Hafeez teaches, and Hafeez teaches well. He, of course, travels a lot. Every time I look in the summer, he's off somewhere in Asia, where he bones up on the latest that he needs to have for his classes. So, all in all, I just wanted to say that Hafeez has been an asset to Villanova, but more than that, he's been a wonderful colleague, and even more than that, he's been a very close friend. So I want to congratulate Hafeez on his 48 years here, and I wish him all the best, and I'm glad that we're honoring him tonight. Thank you, Hafeez.
Bob, thank you for those very nice and kind words about Hafeez. Now it's my turn. For those of you that were not able to attend the fine lecture by Dr. Cole, my name is Kail Ellis, and I am the Dean of the College of Liberal Arts and Sciences here at Villanova. It's my privilege. So I've been thinking a lot about what to say about Hafeez Malik. And I wrote down a few words, and I said, what can one say about Hafeez that would not be so personal to embarrass either him or me? And should I care if it does? I won't. At this point, I don't think it really matters. Hafeez Malik has been my mentor and friend since I came to Villanova in 1979. And even before, when as a master's student in political science, I took classes from him one summer. As the year passed, and we used to collaborate on a number of projects and conferences, he came to call me his younger brother. And the term that I loved to hear from him was Akhuna Khalil, brother Khalil. He didn't call me Abuna Khalil, Father Khalil. He called me Akhuna. And to me, that's what he was. He also told me that he was an Augustinian. Later, there would be other Muslim Augustinians at Villanova. And I think he meant it. Because what is an Augustinian, after all, if not someone who searches for truth and respects others' viewpoints while engaging them in respectful dialogue? This is what Hafeez always did. As Dr. Langran mentioned, Hafeez came to Villanova in 1961 as a young, very young PhD in political science from Syracuse University. For 48 years, he devoted himself to this university, supporting its mission of teaching, service, and scholarship. He authored and edited some 16 books and numerous journal articles. He founded in 1977 the Journal of South Asian and Middle Eastern Studies. He served as a visiting professor to the Foreign Service Institute of the U.S. State Department. He was also president of the Council of the Asia Society, director of the American Institute of Pakistan Studies, and president of the Pakistan American Foundation. He was also the inspiration for and the founder of the American Council for the Study of Islamic Societies. I know I left out some other honors, but nevertheless, you get an idea about his involvement. His books, include such titles as Russian-American Relations, Islamic and Turkic Dimensions in the Volga-Ural Basin, U.S., Russia, and China in the New World Order, Soviet-Pakistan Relations in Post-Soviet Dynamics, Iqbal, poet, philosopher of Pakistan, Sir Syed Ahmed Khan, and Muslim moderation in India and Pakistan, U.S. relations with Pakistan and Afghanistan, the imperial dimensions, and of course, editorship of the Encyclopedia of Pakistan, published by Oxford University Press. It is Hafeez's relationship to the Center for Arab and Islamic Studies, however, that I would like to mention in particular. When I first came to Villanova in 1979, having recently completed my PhD in International Relations and Middle East Studies, I received my PhD from Catholic University, but I was fortunate enough to take courses in the Middle East at Georgetown University. And I was inspired by Georgetown University's Center for Contemporary Arab Studies. And I thought it would be wonderful to have a similar program at Villanova University. Thank you. Unfortunately, some of the very people from Georgetown who were instrumental in helping us establish this center could not be here this evening, but I would like to mention their names anyway. Michael Hudson, who is the director, or was the director, and I think it currently is the director of the Center for Contemporary Arab Studies at Georgetown. Barbara Stovasser, who is a great Islamic scholar and does work on women in Islam. John Rudy, who was a great historian of the Middle East, and Yvonne Haddad, also on Islamic studies. When I came, I sought out Hafeez and discussed the idea of an Arab center with him. He was immediately supportive and enthusiastic. No hesitation on his part. It was he who suggested that we broaden the title to Islamic Studies so that it would include the countries of the Islamic world. However, at the time, Hafeez's support was unique. The idea encountered a lot of pushback, as the students would say today. The late Professor Fred Khoury, whom Dr. Langran mentioned, himself a well-known author on the Arab-Israeli conflict, cautioned that it would be difficult to have such a center in this area. Some colleagues in the political science department were suspicious, if not outright opposed to the idea. The word Arab was a problem. Why not Middle East? Was the center, quote, too political? Was there was also opposition from outside the university, which I leave to your imagination. Since the proposal for the program called for the addition of a Middle East historian, a teacher of Arabic, an Islamic philosopher and theologian, as well as other instructors in related subjects, there was a rumor going around that it was my intention to have an Arab in each department. I didn't tell anybody that, but I don't know why they thought that. I know this sounds funny, but those of you who know academe, I'm sure will not find that too far-fetched. Throughout this, Hafeez Malik was my support and counselor, and together we schemed and got the center established. Of course, I would be remiss if I did not mention that we also had the support of some important Augustinian administrators. Father John O'Malley, who was then the Dean of the College of Arts and Sciences at the time, wanted more internationalization in the curriculum. And Father Larry Gallen, our late beloved Vice President for Academic Affairs, was also highly supportive. He once remarked to someone when he saw Hafeez and me together at some event that, quote, when these guys get together, things happen. To me, that was the best compliment that could ever be made. And so, after all these 25 years, the good years and the battle-scarred ones, I want to express personally my appreciation to our older brother, Abuna, no, not Abuna, Ahuna, Ahuna Hafeez. St. Augustine said, faith is to believe what you do not see. The reward of this faith is to see what you believe. Thank you, Hafeez, for believing in this project and for making it come to life. Like the doubting Thomas, we see and we believe. Now, for those of you who have followed and now continue this work, please look to Hafeez's dedication to the mission of this center. Keep it a center that promotes the study and understanding of the Arab and Islamic world, a critical area whose cultures have had a profound impact on the arts and sciences for centuries. This is your mission. This is your center. Make it happen. Thank you very much. And now, I would like to ask Hafeez to please come up. As a token of our appreciation, a very small token, we have this plaque that we wish to present to Hafeez. It reads, presented to Dr. Hafeez Malik, a founding member of the Villanova Center for Arab and Islamic Studies, and recognition for his outstanding contributions, 1983 to 2009. Thank you, Hafeez.
Kail, Doctors Jack Johannes, Bob Langran, and my son, Dean Malik, Esquire. Please stand, be recognized. Apart from what we are doing, Dean came from his office. He's a brilliant lawyer, works for a very big law firm in Philadelphia. I am so proud of him, you can't believe it. After what my dear friend Bob Langran has said about me and what Ahuna Khalil, Father Ellis, has said, I don't know what else can I say about this character, Hafeez Malik. I can say perhaps a few things of my own experience at Villanova, how I felt about it. As you already know, I came in August of 1961. And believe me, I had no intention of staying here. I had thought that I would stay here 2 years or 3 years, at the most. Well, here I am. And the story goes like this. At the commencement exercises, we lined up to march to the exercises, and the man who was standing next to me, God bless his soul, he is no longer with us, Dr. Hughes, we started to talk, and I discovered that he is chairman of the Department of Sociology. And he began to tell me, oh, you know, we are having a difficult time, we don't know, we don't have a faculty member who can teach modern techniques of research, methodology, and whatnot. I said, I solved your problem. Don't worry about it. He said, how? I said, I'm going to send you the best methodologist that there is. He said, really? I said, yes. He said, okay, give me her name. I said, her name is Linda Malik. He said, okay, send her. She went to see him next day and she was hired. In those days, things were very simple. All that you had to do was go over to the office of the president, knock at the door. Father Calcutta was the president, and say to him, Father, can I see you? And he was a very simple man. He would say, come on. Or if he's very busy, he would say, give me 5 minutes. And you go and talk to him. The same way with the dean. Then a very young man when I came. I was going to say almost a raw young man. Delightful. His face was so bright always, full of cheer. He has been here now for 50 years. Can you believe that? Let's give him 50 years. And I think he's going to go for another 50 years. I hope he does. I have been very happy at Villanova. In fact, the fact Linda joined the faculty, that pretty nearly put an end to my desire to move to any other place. I had, over the years, 2-3 offers from different universities, some very big name universities, incidentally. And I said, it's very nice, but I would rather stay here. I don't know whether this was the right judgment or wrong judgment, but anyway, this is the way it was. I was able to do what I wanted to do. This was really the most significant thing for me, that whatever I wanted to do, I was able to do. And the reason was that the Augustinian fathers and I developed a love relationship. By the way, I had, until I came to Villanova, I really had never met a Catholic, let alone a Catholic priest. I was educated in a missionary school in Lahore, where I was born, behind the walled city, the old Mughal city. There was a high school, it still exists, Foreman Christian High School. And that was the very first high school that was created in the city of Lahore after the British conquered that area. And it was, surprisingly, it was established by an American Protestant mission. I think it was the Methodists who created that high school. So I had absolutely no contact with the Catholics, least of all with the Catholic priests. So when I came to Villanova and I began to deal with them, I began to realize what the Catholic Church is all about and what the mission is all about. And I honestly tell you, I came to love these Augustinians. I'll be leaving the university shortly. I have no reason to flatter them. I honestly tell you, they are the finest individuals that I have known in my life. Truly love them. And one reason was that they reciprocated my love. If I loved them, they also loved me. Of all the presidents that I have dealt with over the years, I think Father Dept probably was the best president that we have had. This is my impression. I hope I am not overstating the case. Somebody may have a different view, but I personally feel, insofar as my observation goes, that he was the best president that Villanova ever had. And I'm sure our current president would do a very fine job, but I'm speaking really in terms of the past. The university has moved, as Bob pointed out to you, has moved from the position of a glorified high school to a university of stature. It has. And one reason is that Father Daban brought in a team of administrators, including Jack Johannes, Father Ellis, and a very beautiful young lady sitting over there, Helen Lafferty. They worked with him, and they have truly changed the university. And I'm sure that in the future the university would move to greater and greater heights. I won't be around to see it, but I'm sure. Well, before I really step down, I've said enough. I want to thank all of you for coming here and the nicest things that have been said about me. But I would like to pay tribute to our current director of the center, Sylvia. Please stand. Yeah, please. Yeah. Sylvia is truly a darling individual, very determined to work. You know, she was born in Hungary. She was educated there. She earned her PhD at the University of Budapest, came to the United States, taught in different places, and then has been here at Villanova for the last several years. Excellent teacher, a very good scholar, and tremendously dedicated to understanding Islam, the Arabs, and the comparative study of literatures between Spanish and what is produced in the Muslim countries. I think really Villanova is very lucky to have a bright individual like her, very dedicated individual, and let's give her a hand. She has currently at the same time a bright young man from Lebanon. Where is Nasser Shore? Is he anywhere around? Nasser, stand, please. A bright young man, a man of ideas, and both of them are going to do exceptionally well for the center. The center has yet a long way to go. As Father Ellis pointed out, the center has had a lot of difficulties. There was a tremendous opposition when it was established. And I remember attending one meeting with Father Daban, members of the center and the Father President, and he laid it out to us, the kind of opposition that we were facing. And he said that as long as I'm the president, I will stand for academic freedom. And nobody is going to be able to intimidate anyone. He lived up to it. I hope that the future administration of the university would have the same courage and the same vision, and the center would be allowed to function effectively in the future. And the young scholars who are here, I mean, we are finishing our days. The young scholars who are here, I hope that they will remain single-minded in the pursuit of knowledge and in the understanding of Muslim communities and the Arab communities and the United States. The United States, as you well know, I don't need to say much about it. Indeed, the political culture of the United States is changing, and it has changed. It's no longer the same, and it will never be the same. Which means that people like us, who came from Muslim countries or from the Arab countries. People like us and our children, not me, I'm an old man now, that our children in the future would have equal opportunity with the rest of the population in the United States. And that's a great achievement. And I think our center would play a role in that direction. And I wish you good luck. God bless you.
Good evening. First of all, I'd like to thank you all for being part of our celebration. And if I may take just 1 minute of your time, we have thanked quite a good number of people who were very important and have contributed a lot to our center. I've always said that, and I say it again, had it not been for the vision of Father Kail Ellis, the center wouldn't have existed, and we wouldn't have been here celebrating this event. So thank you again, Father Kail Ellis. I would also like to thank all the founding members and everyone that has supported the center over the last 25 years. There are those who are with us here that continue to be part of the center, but there are those who are no longer with us that also I would like to make sure that we do thank them and make sure that we do remember them and do thank them for their contribution. I personally have few thank yous to send out. First, my thank you is to Dr. Sylvia Zekinagmi. Thank you. If I may say, this has been at least a year of preparation. For the last 5 weeks, Sylvia, and one more person that I would definitely love to mention because her dedication was extremely important to this conference is Jessica. Where's Jessica? Jessica DeLisi, please stand up. To us, there is a life before the conference, and there will be a life before the conference. Really, Jessica and Sylvia and myself were here until sometimes midnight to make sure that we do celebrate the center with all what we think needs to be celebrated. And I hope so far we did achieve some of that, and we do thank you very much for being with us tonight. Thanks again, and have a great, great evening. Thank you, Sylvia.
Thank you. Thank you for everybody for their kind words and for the good wishes for the center. Thank you, Hafeez, for your kind words to all of us, and thanks to the university administration for all its support. We couldn't have done it without it. And thanks Nasser, thanks Jessica, and also the army of student volunteers. We really should give them a big round of applause because they were so enthusiastic and so kind and so dedicated, and really without looking at the clock, without looking at, they spared no effort for making this conference happen, and they helped us enormously. I would also like to thank everybody who came for their efforts. Some of you came from far away. That must have been a big sacrifice for some of you. We very much appreciate it. We are delighted to have you with us. And the exchanges that took place were really inspiring for all of us, I hope. And tomorrow we'll still have a full day. I just take advantage of this moment when we are all together. Tomorrow we are not going to have a closing ceremony except one very important event where we have Mayada Al-Hiraqi with us, a Lebanese female producer. It is a very important thing because it's not very easy to become a woman producer. As you know, it's a hard field to break into. So I really would like you to come to all of the sessions and specifically to this event with the Mayada Al-Hiraqi. I thank you for coming, and I wish you a wonderful trip back and a great session and debates tomorrow. I would never leave without thanking for our keynote speaker, Professor Juan Kail, who has been so gracious and so kind to accepting our invitation. It is a tremendous honor to have you with us. Thank you, and God bless you.